Hi there, and welcome to this video lesson on how to find the volume of a cylinder. Finding the volume of a cylinder is a really good way to expand on your finding the area of a circle skills and knowledge. So if you haven't already, watch the lesson on how to find the area of the circle. So if we want to find the volume of any 3D prism, we need to find the area of that cross section and then times it by the depth. So what that means in terms of a cylinder is we need to find the area of that circle and then we need to times it by the depth, how tall it is, how far back it goes, etc. So first things first, if we're finding out the area of a circle, if we see any question to do with circles, what I would always do is I would write down my radius and my diameter. So my radius in this question is 4 centimetres and my diameter is 8 centimetres. And though for this question we might not need the diameter, I think it's good practice and good habit to always write down at radius and always write down diameter, because you never know when it can be helpful in the next set of questions. Okay, so first things first, let's find the area of the circle. To do that, we use the formula area equals pi times by r squared. So if we substitute in 4 centimetres for our r, we get pi times by 4 squared. Area equals pi times 4 squared is 16. So if we type that into our calculator, 16 pi or pi times 16, we end up with 50.265. So 50.265, like that. So that's the area of this circle, this cross-sectional circle. And like we said, if we want to find the volume, we now times it by the depth. So our volume is our area times by our depth. So in this question, it's going to be volume equals 50.265 centimetres squared times by 10 centimetres. So our volume is going to be 502.655 centimetres cubed is our units for that. And let's say we're trying to do everything in this video to one decimal place. We cut it off there. If that's big at 5 or bigger, then we round up. So our volume is equal to 502.7 centimetres cubed. And that's our final answer. So to find out the volume of a cylinder, we first find out the area of the circle, the cross section, and then we times it by the depth. So it's actually a really simple process. So hopefully you can pick that up pretty quickly. So pause the video here, have a go at this left-hand example. Copy out the working for that left-hand example, then have a go at this right-hand example and play the video once you're done. And I'll go through the answers. Okay, fantastic. So finding the volume. First things first, all circle questions. Let's write our radius and our diameter. So our radius in this question is 5 centimetres. And our diameter would be double that, would be 10 centimetres. Now, our first step to find the volume is finding the area of that circle, the cross section. So area equals pi times r squared. So therefore area equals pi times 5 squared. Area equals pi times 25, because that's 5 squared. And if we type that into our calculator, 25 times by pi, or pi times by 25, we end up with 78.5 0.5398. And that's centimetres squared. So that's our first step to finding the volume. Now we know that volume is the area times by the depth. What's our depth? Well, our depth is this length here. So that's 9 centimetres. So our volume is 78.5398 centimetres squared times by 9 centimetres. You have to whip out a calculator for this one. So 78.5398 times by 9 gives us 706.8582 centimetres cubed. And let's go to one decimal place. So we'll cut off there. And if this is 5 or bigger, we round up to 706.9 centimetres cubed. And that's your final answer. So if you got that, fantastic. Give yourself some ticks for that. Well done. Okay. Let's have a look at this second question. Find the volume of this cylinder. So the only thing different from this first question to this second question is for our cross section, our circle, it's given us the diameter, not the radius, but that's no bother. Let's start out exactly the same way. So anything to do with cylinders, circles, etc., semicircles, let's write down our radius and our diameter. Well, we don't know our radius this time, but we know our diameter is 10 metres. And we know our radius will be half our diameter, so our diameter is 5 metres. Okay, now we need to find out the area of our cross-sectional shape, our circle. So that's pi times by r squared, pi times by 5 squared, pi times by 25, pi times, and we can type this into a calculator, but we worked it out up here. It was 78.5398. 78.5398, but it's meters squared this time. Make sure you take into account units. Fantastic. So we found the cross-sectional area of the prism, of the cylinder. Now let's find out the volume, and we do that by timesing by the depth, which is 12 meters. So let's write out volume equals area times by depth. So volume equals 78.5398 meters squared times by 12 meters. If we type that into our calculator, 78.5398 times by 12 gives us 942.4776 meters cubed. Volume is always unit cubed. Area is always unit squared. So meters squared, centimeters squared, kilometers squared. Then volume's always centimeters, millimeters, kilometers cubed, everything cubed. Okay, let's take this to one decimal place. We cut it off there. We see if that number's 5 or bigger. It is, so we round that number up. So our volume is 942.5 meters cubed. That's your final answer. So this second question is more or less exactly the same as the first question, but instead of being given the radius to begin with, you're given the diameter. But apart from that, you work it out exactly the same way. So pause the video here, copy out the working for this left-hand example, and have a go at this right-hand example, and then play the video once you're done. Okay, fantastic. So find the volume of this one. Circle question, what do? We write down the radius and diameter. Radius, diameter. We don't know the radius for this one, but we know the diameter. So let's write that down, 12 centimetres. The radius will always be half the diameter, so that's 6 centimetres. Now, when we're finding out the volume of any prism, we find out the area of the cross-section, and then we times it by the depth. So let's find out the area of the cross section, which is this circle. And how do we find out the area of a circle? Well, area equals pi times r squared. If we substitute in our r value, area equals pi times by 6 squared. Area equals pi times by 36. Let's type that into our calculator. Pi times by 36. That gives us 113.0973 centimetres squared. Fantastic. Now, if we want to find out the volume, we take our cross-sectional area and we times it by the depth, which is 8 centimetres. So volume equals area times by depth. So volume equals 113.0973 centimetres cubed times by depth, which is 8 centimetres. We type that in, times by 8. That gives us 904.7787 centimetres cubed. Let's pop it to one decimal place. Is that number 5 and higher? Yes. So let's round up this number. So volume equals 904.8 centimetres cubed. Fantastic. If you got that for your final answer, well done. Give yourself some ticks for that. Well done. Okay, let's move on to our third and final example. So let's have a look at this left-hand example over here. Find the volume in terms of pi. Okay, so this one is slightly different because we have this expression on the end in terms of pi. Okay, so in these two examples, we're finding them in a decimal place, whereas this one, it's asked us to find it in terms of pi, which is just a different format, but we go about doing it exactly the same way, and arguably it's easier, but I just wanted to show it to you because oftentimes in exams, they'll ask you to show it in terms of pi. But let's start this one in exactly the same way. So let's write out our radius and our diameter. Our radius is 3 metres, and our diameter is 6 metres because it's double. Now, first things first, we want to find out the area of our cross-section, the area of this circle there. So let's do that. Area equals pi times by r squared. If we substitute in our r value, so area equals pi times by 3 squared. Area equals pi times by 9, because 3 squared is 9. Now, this is where it slightly deviates from what we've been doing earlier. As opposed to working that out in the calculator, we can just leave our area as 9 pi. Because in algebra, sometimes, or in algebra rather, when two things are touching, we consider them multiplying. So these two things are actually two exact ways of saying exactly the same thing. So area equals 9 pi, and that's how we're going to leave it. Now, if we want to find out our volume is our area times by our depth. What's our depth? Our depth is 15 metres. So let's take that. Our volume equals 9 pi, because that's our area from over here, times by 15. Okay? Now, you can type that into your calculator, and it should give you the exact answer. But what I would do is I'd do 9 times by 15, and that gives me 135. And that's 135 times by pi, so it's 135 pi. And that's how you'd work out that question there. So that would be our final answer. So we wouldn't need to do any rounding, we wouldn't need to leave it in a messy decimal place. This would be the nicest, easiest answer to leave it in. Okay, so that's our final answer. So just to recap, if we want to find the volume or anything in terms of pi, we do it exactly the same way, but instead of typing this step into the calculator, we just leave it as 9 pi. And then this step, we do 9 times 15, and then we stick a pi on the end, basically. Okay, so pause the video here, have a go at this left-hand example, then copy out the working for this right. Ignore that. Pause the video here, copy out the working for this left-hand example, then have a go at this right-hand example and play the video once you're done. Okay, fantastic. So let's go through it. Radius, diameter, 4 centimeters, 8 centimeters. Area equals pi times radius squared, pi times 4 squared, pi times 16, therefore the area is 16 pi. Okay? Volume is our area times by our depth. What's our depth? Our depth is 6 centimeters. So volume equals 16 pi times by 6. If we type that into our calculator, 16 times 6 gives us 96. So volume is 96 pi. And that's our final answer there. If you got that, fantastic, well done. Give yourself a few ticks for that. So arguably, finding it in terms of pi is actually so much easier. Okay, fantastic. So what I've got down here is 3 checks for you to do and 1 extension. I want you to find the volume of all of these shapes here. With the extension, just beware that this is obviously a half cylinder if you're a bit confused by the drawing. Okay, so pause the video here, have a go at those 3 checks, and then if you're feeling brave, have a go at the extension, and then play the video once you're done, and I'll go through the answers. Okay, fantastic. Let's go through the answers. Let's go through the first question. I've just got it down here just so we have a bit more space. So, first things first, radius and diameter. Radius is 3 centimeters, diameter is 6 centimeters. So let's find out the area of the circle, the cross section. Okay, and we do that by area equals pi times r squared. We substitute in our r, 3 squared, pi times by 9. If we type that into a calculator, we get the area coming out as 28.2743 centimeters squared. Now we said the volume is the area times by the depth. What's the depth? The depth is this length here, which is 8 centimeters. Okay, cracking. So the volume is 28.2743 centimeters squared times by 8 centimeters. If we do that, we end up with 226.1947 centimeters cubed. Remember, centimeters cubed. Let's take this to 1 decimal place. So we cut it off there. If that number's 5 or larger, we round this number up. So our final volume to 1 decimal place is 226.2 centimeters cubed. That's our final answer. If you got that, fantastic. Give that some ticks. Well done. Okay, let's have a look at the second question. So, second question is this one here. First things first, radius, diameter. We know our diameter this time, so 6 centimeters. So our radius is 3 centimeters. Okay, so area equals pi times by r squared, pi times by 3 squared, pi times by 9. Just going to look down here because it was 28.2743 centimeters squared. 28.2743 centimeters squared. Fantastic. Okay, now we said that the volume is the area times by the depth. So it'd be our area, which is that, times by our depth, which is 10 centimeters. Okay, fantastic. So volume is 28.2743 centimeters squared times by 10 centimeters. 282.19 0.743 centimetres cubed. Let's go to one decimal place, so we cut it off here. We see if that number's larger than 5, if 5 are larger. If it's not, then we keep this number the same. So our final answer is 282.7 centimetres cubed. That's our final answer. Fantastic if you got that. Well done. Give yourself some ticks like that. Okay, let's have a look at this third question. So this one's asking us to leave it in terms of pi. Okay, that makes our life a little bit easier. Let's start off exactly the same way. Radius, diameter. Radius is 6 centimetres. Diameter is 12 centimetres. Let's find the area. Area equals pi times by r squared. Area equals pi times by 6 squared. We're substituting in. Area equals pi times by 36. And because we're leaving this in terms of pi, we can just say that the area is equal to 36 pi, like that. Volume is area times by depth. What's our depth in this question? Our depth is 10 centimetres. So it's going to be volume equals 36 pi times by 10. That's nice and easy. Volume is going to be 360 pi centimetres cubed. Like that. Fantastic if you got that. Nice. Give yourself some ticks. Okay, and last but not least, let's have a look at this extension question here. Okay, so the only thing different about this extension is it's the volume of a half cylinder. So I would be tempted, there's two ways you can do that. You can find the volume of the whole cylinder and then work that out, and then divide that by 2 rather. Or you can find the area of the cross section, which is how you really should find all kind of prisms in my opinion, and then times that by the depth. Let's go for that second one. So first things first, radius, diameter. Our diameter here is 8 centimetres, therefore our radius must be 4 centimetres. So let's work out the area of what a whole circle would be. So area equals pi times by r squared. Area equals pi times by 4 squared. Area equals pi times by 16. Area equals, let's type that into our calculator, 16 times by pi. 50.2655. 50.2655. So that's the area of a whole circle, whereas our cross section is just a semicircle, a half circle. So in order to find the area of that cross section, we need to take this number here and divide it by 2. So if we do that on our calculator, we divide that by 2, we end up with 25.1327 centimetres squared is our area. Okay, now volume is area times by depth. So our depth, 12 centimetres. So it's nice and easy. Volume is 25.1327 centimetres squared times by 12 centimetres. So we type that into our calculator. We will end up with 301.5929 centimetres cubed. Let's go to one decimal place. We'll cut it off there. If that number's bigger than 5 or bigger, then we round this number up. It is. So our final answer gives us a volume of 301.6 centimetres cubed. Fantastic. If you got that, really well done. Give yourself some ticks for that. Okay, so if you can do these questions, that's absolutely fantastic, because we can really kind of build on working backwards in the future and doing some really hard questions, but all based on these foundational skills that you've just acquired. So what I would do now is I would have a look at the Corbett Maths worksheet that I've linked in the description, and I would have a go at, I'll do all the questions. I'll do question 1, check the answer, question 2, check the answer, question 3, check the answer. So that way you know that you're always going on the right lines. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this lesson and you found it helpful, and I will see you in the next video where we'll probably do something to do with surface area of cylinders. So yeah, take care, bye.